Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and do celebrity legal news. Also, join me for my pop culture chats. If you'd like to support the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. My Venmo and Cash App is below. Thank you so much, and let's get started. Hello, hello, hello. Let's hope you can hear me. Let me make sure my settings are okay, because sometimes things just go a little awry. All right. Thank you so much for watching. As you come in, I'm gonna wait for maybe a few more people to come in. But as you come in, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that like button. If you like what you see, go to YouTube and subscribe. Subscribe. Listen, what done happened down at the Essence Festival? Y'all? They said the festival wasn't festivaling. We're going to go over a lot of the different things. I hear that there was some logistics problems, some sponsorship problems, and some other things that were going on. So we will definitely get into this, as you all come in. Please make sure you all are hitting that like button. I really do appreciate. So as you all are coming in, I guess I would love to go over what the Essence Festival was. Now, if you're not familiar, that the Essence magazine was the one that started the Essence Festival. And that festival started in 1995. I went to, just full disclosure, I went to the Essence Festival in, I didn't go to the first one. I went in 96, I went in 97, and I went in 2008. Yeah, 2008. So I have not been to an Essence Festival then. I think it was 2008. I think it was. Let me check. Let me check the lineup. Who was? Let me see. It was 2007. 2007, because I remember Life Jennings. So it was 2007 that I went. So again, the Essence Festival started by the Essence magazine, and it is basically, and I'm going to read to you what it was. Is when it is the largest African American culture and music event in the United States. The annual music festival started in 1995 in New Orleans, Louisiana, to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Essence magazine. The festival features artists simultaneously performing on a main stage, as well as four, we call them super lounges. I don't know what they call them now. And in 2006, it was held in Houston because of Hurricane Katrina. And in 2020, it was canceled due to COVID. And the who's who in African American and some diaspora artists have always been there, but mostly it celebrates the African American artists, and it also has different things going on. So you have the artists performing in the evening, but in the daytime they have a whole lot of meetings and venues talking about things going on in the African American culture, things, self-help things, people who have books and all this other stuff. During the day, it's more of like an educational vibe. It teaches you a lot of stuff. Also, there would be vendors there from New Orleans, Louisiana, and other places. You would have vendors there doing food and all kinds of stuff. So it's like a party every 4th of July. And it goes for like 3 days. And so this year, again, it was in New Orleans. But there's a couple of changes that is going on. Now, Essence magazine has it's no longer African American owned. It is owned by Rashu Dennis, who also owns the Shea Moisture collection. So even before then, it was owned by I think it was Time Warner or something like that. So it has changed hands since the original owners. I think what the original owner, one of them passed away. of the magazine, and so they sold the magazine. Now, Susan, the longtime editor, Susan, I can't think of what her last name is. It just escapes me. But she was there. She all of this stuff. I mean, when I tell you, it was fun. It was fun. And a lot of people probably in the past 10 years have dubbed it the aunties, the rich aunties festival, because a lot of African American women who are retired or African American women who have a big spending block, they usually go to this festival and they have a good time. Now, I remember I don't know if it was last year or the year before last. A lot of people were up in arms about Meg the Stallion performing at the Essence Festival, because Meg the Stallions and her music and things like that. So there was a lot of people. There was a lot of folks that had a little. They were upset about her performing at this particular function, the way she performed. But there was a lot of folks there, honey. When I saw I think they live streamed it, if I'm not mistaken, on YouTube. But anyway, I just remember seeing it, and I remember talking about, ooh, them folks upset. They mad about Meg the Stallion up there, shaking and popping her tail, and then having a contest where everybody else can shake and pop their tail. But anyway, that was the past. Just wanted to kind of go over with you all what the Essence Festival is and how it's going on. Now, here is what we find out. The first thing that kind of streamed out of the Essence Festival was the fact that they were talking about the partnerships that they have. Hey, Andre, how you doing? They were talking about the partnerships that they have. And one of the partnerships that they have is with Target. Now, if you're not familiar within the Black American community, they're boycotting Target because Target took away their DEI incentives. They took away the DEI incentives. So there has been a lot of boycotting with that. However, Essence Magazine is still partnered with Target. Now, it's my understanding that the current CEO, Carolyn Wanga, she used to work for Target. And she's now the CEO of Essence. Now, they're saying that, they've got a multi-year partnership with Target. And so they're still going to be partnered with them. However, it seems a little tone deaf when you know that the majority of the people who are going to Essence Fest, which are the rich aunties, because this will be so very real for you, Black women keep the Essence Fest moving because Essence was a magazine for Black women that centered around Black American women. So to hear that the festival was sponsored was Target in the conference center, that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But they said that Target was low key, but people were still looking and talking about the fact that people were going in and out of the little Target booth with Target bags and all kinds of stuff like that. They just felt like it just looked hypocritical that here we are having a festival where a lot of the Black women are protesting Target, and here you are having Target as a thing. Seemed a little tone deaf. And I will say this. Again, Rishu Dennis is he currently is a black man from the diaspora. He owns the Essence Group. He is from Liberia, and the CEO of Essence is Carolyn Wanga. She's from Kenya. Now, one of the things, and I will talk about that's interesting that they were talking about, is a lot of people, and I'm talking about those that I've seen on TikTok, have said that them going to the Essence Festival, it didn't seem right. So then questioning what didn't make it seem right? Well, they were like, it didn't seem like it, as it had in past years, it didn't seem like it centered its core audience, which are African American women, Black American women. Now, I know on TikTok, there's this whole big old thing about how you name yourself and stuff like that. And I think we're in the middle And I don't know how it is off of social media. I haven't gauged the temperature yet, but on social media, particularly with TikTok, there seems to be a cultural shift with Black Americans not identifying with calling themselves African Americans anymore, simply because uh, Elon Musk and all the people that are coming from the continent can say that they are African Americans, and a lot of people are going back to Black Americans, or what are some of the terms that I've heard? ADOS, uh, Foundation Black Americans. There's a whole lot of different discourse in regards to all of that. I'm not getting into any of that. I'm just explaining that I will be using Black American, and I probably will vacillate between that. But I'm talking about Black Americans whose folks can be traced back to the transatlantic um, slave trade, and for those that were for those few that are indigenous. And when I say indigenous, all I mean is that there were melanated people here, and that's all I can tell you. There was melanated people here that did not come over on the transatlantic slave trade. There were melanated people that were here before Columbus got here. How they got here, same way that Christopher Columbus got here, honey. They probably traveled over either the waters or whatever, because black, African folks can be represented throughout the world. But anyway, let's get back to Essence Fest. So a lot of the folks that did go, they said that they loved the conference center, the meetings and things like that. But they said that they felt like in those meetings and in those things, all those different things, they didn't feel like it was Black American centered. It felt like it was more diaspora centered, and because they were, and then you didn't have a lot of the local vendors. It seemed more corporate than rather than what it was initially charged to do, which was to highlight a lot of Black American vendors and local vendors and things like that. So it felt different. Somebody said that the feeling was different, and they knew the feeling was different because they said they had a jollof rice versus jambalaya cook-off. Now, it's my understanding, I've not had any jollof rice, so people who have had it, because when I look at it and I look how people are preparing it, jollof rice and jambalaya rice are prepared similarly, but they're different. And I don't know why that was highlighted there. We also found that there was a lot more, from what I understand, and I am pulling this information from the people in the Tickety Talk out, that there were a lot of vendors there that seemed corporate, and then they were more diaspora vendors. Also, too, they were saying that the lineup was heavily Afrobeat, Caribbean music inspired. Now, do not hear me. There were African American music being produced and sounded there, but overall they were talking about, it felt like it was more diaspora centered than Black American culture centered. Okay, that is the first thing. The other thing that was talked about was the fact that the concerts itself did not start on time. Now I'm going to put up this article, because one of the things I remember seeing in real time was there was not a lot of people there. The attendance, they did not, through yesteryears into this year, there was not a lot of folks that attended. The ticket sales were down. But the one thing that crept out of the Essence Fest was Lauryn Hill. And they said that Lauryn Hill did not take the stage until 4:00 in the morning. Now, I did a little TikTok saying, y'all know that Lauryn Hill is continually late. There are situations and times that she's there on time. I'm clearly aware and I understand that, but she has a reputation for being late. If she's supposed to be there at 8:00 and the venue closes at 11, She is going to arrive to start her set at 10:30, and she will do a quick little melody of her rundown of her hits, and then she'll leave. But she would have had folks waiting 2.5 something hours. So when I initially heard that, I was like, well, what did y'all think? Did y'all not put it in her contract that she couldn't be more than 15 minutes late? I just don't understand. Well, a couple of days later, they were saying, well, that wasn't Lauryn Hill's fault. They said she was there and she was ready to perform. However, there were production problems. The production was taking too long between the sets to get the sets together, and they had difficulty with the sound system. Made me look. Oh, difficulty with the sound system. Interesting. Hold on just one moment. I've got to check my sound. It looks good. Yeah, y'all can. Testing. Yeah, y'all can hear me. Interesting. So there was problems with the sound system, and they were saying that there were problems with the sound system to the point that it was delaying the acts in between by 30 minutes to an hour or something like that. And then people got to come back out and do everything like that. So there was issues and problems. So let's go over this article real quick. Lauryn Hill took the Essence Festival stage super late, and organizers want you to know that it wasn't her fault. And this is from CNN. The organizers of Essence Fest don't want you to be miseducated about Lauryn Hill. The singer closed out the first night of the festivals with a performance that began around 2:30 a.m. Though Hill has a run late for her shows on occasion in the past, organizer of the festival wanted to make clear that Hill was not responsible for the delays start over this weekend. Family is family, and around here we protect our own no matter what the people have said. Let's be clear. We don't play about Miss Lauryn Hill, the festival wrote in the post shared on social media. Not for clicks, not for headlines. She arrived on schedule, stepped out on that stage, and delivered the kind of performance only a legend can. The post, which include video of her performing, goes on to read, the delays, not hers. We will take that. They said that she performed all of her hits and everything like that. Now, in this article, they do not talk about why it was delayed, but in later articles, it was confirmed that it was delayed because there was a lot of issues and problems with the sound, and there was issues and problems with the setup. So I understand the second night it got a little bit better, but not really. So let's go to, hold on. I did talk about the Target. Let's go to this article because I want to go over this article about the sponsorship with Target. Essence Festival defends Target sponsorship amid DEI backlash. The festival had to address some attendees' frustration as well as the Target sponsorship. And this is an article by Black Enterprise, written by Naila Abdul Rahman. Amid reports of low ticket sales and disgruntled attendees, Essence Festival of Culture organizer explains why they had to keep their partnership with Target despite boycotts and against the retailer. The organizers addressed concerns over its ongoing sponsorship by Target while responding to another controversy surrounding its experiences. What is going on? Hold on, y'all. What is going on? StreamYard has all these new features and they are just cutting up. Amid reports of low ticket sales and disgruntled attendees, Essen Festival Culture organizer explained why they had to keep their partnership with Target despite the boycott. The organizers addressed concern over its ongoing sponsorship by Target while responding to another controversy surrounding experiences. Attendees initially expressed their disappointment with the reintroduced super lounges that only allowed those with premium VVIP tickets inside. Oh, that's interesting. Because when I went, you had to buy a ticket for the day. You could buy because some people because some people will look at the lineup and say, oh, I don't want to go to the concert on Friday, or the first night or the second night. I want to go to the first and the third night. A lot of people were like the first and the second night. Or you could just buy the whole experience, and if you decide that you want to go to all those tickets, that was fine. And that there were super lounges. And the way it was when I went, you had the main stage. So you knew all the artists that were going to perform on the main stage. And then you had the super lounges. And what they were is they were around the Superdome. I think that they were like maybe 4 or 5 as I remember. And so artists that were not going to be on the main stage, they were in the super lounges. So you could go into the super lounge. So for instance, if you were going there to see Mary J. Blige, and Mary J. Blige was on the main stage, but she wasn't going to show up on the main stage to, let's say, like 9 p.m., and you got to the stadium about 6 or whatever, those performers that were performing between 6 and 9 p.m., you can go around and hear their sets because they wouldn't have extensive sets. It would usually be like I don't want to say lesser known artists, but they would be artists that weren't going to do a big repertoire of their music. Maybe compared to the main stage where they'll do maybe like an hour set, they would probably do 10 to 15 minutes. And so you would have at least 2 or 3 artists that would perform in different super lounges, and you would just go around the Superdome watching those performers. But it looks like you needed premium tickets, which doesn't make any sense to me because it was all one price when I went. Like I said, they do things different. It is my understanding, like when they had the little conferences and things going on in the daytime, you had, like I said, you had the free stuff, and then they had things like BeautyCon and all this other stuff going on where you had to pay. So in other words, it sounded like they were nickel and diming you on things that they didn't do that before. Like I said, I haven't been since 2000, I think it was 2000. Anyway, whatever I said in the beginning, that's when it was. It's been so long since I've been. So they had those things. So it sounds like they had like VIP lounges and things like that. VIP tickets and things like that for the super lounges, which makes no sense because, again, you charge you what you're going to charge for the day and be through with it. The other thing that folks were talking about was the fact that, since social media has become a big outlet in social media, content creators, they were saying that a lot of the social media content creators were more so content creators from the diaspora who were invited and given the perks and things. But the content creators that were not of the diaspora, they were far and few between. I understand and heard that. So there was a lot of issues going on in regards to those types of things. After admitting they missed the mark on the exclusivity of the lounges, the post-comment section aired out the other frustrations as well. Fans had more to say about the Target sponsorship in particular. Many in the Black community have boycotted the retailer after its cutback on DEI programs and initiatives. Now that that's settled, let's talk about Target commented on one Instagram user. Essence Festival did answer the comments, but kept things brief given their contractual obligation with the company. However, they did acknowledge how it looks to still hold a relationship with Target given the controversy. Now, I saw some of the comments, and I know one of the comments that I read stated that that Essence Fest Town sounded tone deaf. If you and culturally insensitive. If you were a Black American, you understand and you knew why Target was being boycotted. And they felt like because the CEO is a Kenyan American, that they felt like it was tone deaf. They explained that they had a multi-year contract and that this was the year that I guess the contract ends. But people were very upset about that. So let's see what the Target CEO issued a statement. He said, "We are at Target are grateful for our continued partnership with Essence and extend our thanks to the team that brings this moment to life year after year," wrote the CEO. And another thing that I think too I want to mention in here in regards to Target. So Target is losing a lot of its Black American customers because of the DEI rollbacks. But what I have seen is that those that are in the diaspora are doing partnerships with Target. One particularly is Kai Sanat. Him and his little group, what was it, AMP? They have their body wash or whatever it is that they have, cologne, grooming kits, or whatever they have them in Target. And I know that on Kai Sanat's page or some of their pages, Target allowed for them to spend the night in their stores. Now, here's the thing about that. They weren't spending night in those stores identifying themselves as part of the diaspora. They were doing it visually looking like Black Americans, visually using Black American vernacular, highlighting rap music, and all of these different things. However, so anybody who saw it would see, they would think visually, oh, these Black American young kids are not they're not down with Target. You know, it's just the older people. No, it had to be clear to put out that these were not Black American. These are first or second generation Black American children of immigrants. They were putting this thing, and Target is being very selective with that. They understand that. So if you see a lot of people that look like us that are skin folks that are working with Target, people are automatically assuming that the boycott is not being effective because Black folks are still going to Target. And so it had to be highlighted and mentioned, because I think a lot of those people in those group, I think one of the guys is he's a Dominican, another guy is from Canada, and I think his folks are Somali. You have Kai Sanat. I'm thinking Kai Sanat is either from Liberia or his folks are from Nigeria. And I don't know where the other person is coming from. I think that he is from Jamaica. So you're having people that visually look like Black Americans. However, culturally, they're not Black Americans. So they don't really, and I don't want to say that they don't really care, but they seem to want to separate themselves from the stuff that we're doing, which kind of waters down the things that we do in a certain movement. Okay. So let's continue. So I've noticed that with Target. I've noticed that they are working with a lot of the folks within the diaspora to try to get more Black Americans to come in. The other issue, come on. Give me one moment because everything is, it's almost like everything is, all right. Here we go. I'm trying to figure out my computer is running so slow. Let's share this tab. All right. Essen Fest wraps up amid changing tides and festival attendance. Some notice smaller crowds, but Essen is the only one experiencing a dip. Essen Fest has officially come to a close. If the long lines at Louis Armstrong Airport are any indication, thousands came, celebrated, and are now headed homes with memories in tow. Some folks said that they had amazing times. They saw Jill Sott, Patti LaBelle, and Jasmine Scott. But while the energy in the city was high, this year's Essence Fest may have not have drawn the crowds it's known for. Entertainment reporter for our partner, the Times Picayune, Keith Sparrow, noticed a noticeable dip in the turnout across the entire weekend. He says, and I quote, I've seen slow individual years before, but I've never seen a fest where all 3 nights were clearly off. Just about every night, most of the terrace level at the top of the dome was empty. And those seats are actually where 60% of the seats for Essence are located. Some festival goers noticed it too. It was a little less stellar than I thought it would be, one visitor said. In past fields, it was very, very well. This time, it felt a little disorganized. And remember, that's going back to, they're talking about the disorganization and things like that. And so let me see. I want to close it out. I apologize. My computer is working on its own time. All right. So then we have Stephanie Mills. Now, if you're not familiar with Stephanie Mills is a Herald Broadway singer and actress. Also, she's had a very long and legendary R&B career. She sung songs like Home from the Broadway play The Wiz, Something in the Way You Make Me Feel. She sang songs with Teddy Pendergrass. She had a very good, stellar R&B career, and she's still performing. Now, Stephanie Mills released a statement for the Essence Fest organizer. And so I'm going to read you, I'm going to close out this particular stream with what she said. So I'm going to read it from my phone. And give me one moment. Let me see. 'Cause my let me stop sharing. Let me see if I can get over here to X. All right, let me share the screen and we will close out this because we will definitely read this letter together. And this is coming from her Twitter page. Here we go. An open letter. So this is from her Mills Entertainment group. An open letter to Essence Festival of Culture 2025. Now, it does say that it was on June 8th, but she does put over here in the corner that there was a correction. July 8th, 2025, right here. She does a correction. She says, Dear Essence Festival organizers, I am writing to share my feedback following my performance at this year's Essence Festival. While I remain grateful for the opportunity to have participated, my overall experience was unfortunately marred with significant production issues that negatively impacted both my performances and the artist's experience as a whole. The challenges I encountered were multifaceted and, in my view, indicative of broader organizational shortcomings. Let me do this because we want to make sure that, let's go. The scheduling and time management were severely lacking, creating a chaotic and stressful environment backstage. This disorganization cascaded onto the stage, impacting the flow of the event and ultimately diminishing the quality of the performances. Beyond the logistic issues, the technical difficulties, specifically concerning the sound system, proved deeply problematic. Now, let me just be very clear if people are talking and everything like this. You have to understand, Stephanie Mills comes from a legacy of her mic is always on. She doesn't have backing tracks. She is singing with a live band, with background singers, and a whole show. So she's old school. Her mic is going to be on, and the sound has to be the way it is. It's different from newer audiences because newer artists, excuse me, because they have no problem with the backing track going on and all this other stuff. If you've not seen Stephanie Mills in her show, baby, you are missing a great show. Stephanie Mills, and that's why they do it for so long and they can do it. Stephanie Mills, from Patti LaBelle, anybody that was an artist prior to 2000, and they were an R&B artist, and I don't care who they were, their mics had to be on. Now, am I trying to say that those? Yes, because again, those particular artists were trained even before they had their first album come out. There were A&Rs. There were people that were making sure that their performances were going to be polished, whether they were singing in the studio, whether they were singing on television for a live audience or a performance, and whether they were on the stage at a concert singing. Just like you all enjoy, because I know a lot of people have issues and whatever with Beyonce, but what will be happening at her concerts is that her mic is going to be on and she is going to sing. Now, I know people now say that she's like the exception, but when she came out, that was the rule. Now artists that their mics are not on and it's a give and take, and whether or not their vocals are going to be matched. But you can definitely rest assured that someone like a Beyonce, a Stephanie Mills, a Mary J. Now, Mary J. will crack every now, but still her mic is on. A Patti LaBelle, even artists like Ashanti, their mics are going to be on. Younger artists like Coco Jones, mic is on. Belle Biv DeVoe, New Edition, The Temptations, rest in peace, Frankie Beverly, but Frankie Beverly and Mays, their mics were on. But let's continue. Beyond the logistical issues, the technical difficulties, specifically concerning the sound system, proved deeply problematic. These issues were not isolated incidents, but rather persistent problems that severely hampered my ability to deliver my performance to the best of my ability. And I understand I wasn't alone in the experience with these problems. This lack of technical preparedness is unacceptable for any event of the Essence Festival's caliber and prestige. Again, you are talking about artists where their mics are on. You've got an Angie Stone, those Carl Thomas, Clarence Carter, Eric Benet, Erica Badu, Jeffrey Osborne, Jill Scott, Joe, Kelly Price, Patty Austin, Patty LaBelle. And these weren't artists that were, but I'm just saying these are the caliber of artists. When you go and see their show, their mics are on. These are R&B artists, the Whispers, the OJs. You even got in here Yolanda Adams, Babyface, Etta James, Faith Evans, Gerald Levert, Anita Baker, Shaka Khan, Heather Headley, even Jaguar Wright, Shantae Moore. So I'm just reading you the people who have performed before. Freddie Jackson, Kenny Lattimore, Fantasia, Lionel Richie, Earth, Wind, and Fire. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. These are people who are used to singing with their mics on. And these kind of technical problems won't fly. These operational deficiencies ultimately detracted not only from the artist's performance, but more importantly, from the audience experience. Their energy and excitement was repeatedly disrupted, creating a less than ideal atmosphere for the attendees. The overall level of professionalism I witnessed fell far short of the standards I expect from such a highly regarded festival. I believe a comprehensive review of organizational structure and operational management is necessary to ensure that future Essence festivals run smoothly and meet the high standards associated with the brand. I sincerely hope my feedback will be taken seriously and utilized to address these significant concerns, ensuring a vastly improved experience for both the artists and the attendees in the years to come. Respectfully, Stephanie Mills. Now, I'm looking over here in the corner, and it says, let's read this thing. To openly criticize the most fiscally rewarding Black-owned entertainment festival in the world while saying nothing publicly about the mistreatment of white-owned festivals doesn't sit right with me. Essence needs improvement, then assist in the improvement. Having your hand out for more isn't a sign of Black strength. I would respectfully disagree, because she wrote it in a letter, and a lot of times things don't get done until it is put out into the public. She's letting them know specifically what her issues are. And I think that as someone who has been in the business, Stephanie Mills has been in this business for over 50 years, y'all. She started her career in the 70s. She's been in this business for 50 something years. And so for her to be able to put this information out for the festival, that's just feedback that they need. Because she, just like anybody else, she can put this information out on social media. And hopefully it gets back to them. And hopefully they do a better job. So, y'all, it sounds like there was a big little snafu-ish going on at the Essence Festival. Not only was there technical difficulties that caused for artists to not be on time for their show, also the experience for the audience wasn't as rewarding because of the technical difficulties. Number two, the attendance was down. Number three, the vendors who had been there in the past seemed that they were etched out for more corporate type vendors instead of local vendors that have been that the Essence Festival has been in a symbiotic relationship since 1995. And also for some of the attendings to believe that the authenticity, the feel, because if you are a Black American, that is one of the things that culturally that you are. Authenticity is a real thing. If it doesn't feel like it's authentic, or if it seems like it's contrived, then we're not gonna like it. So they felt like it was more focused on the diaspora than the actual attendees that it was designed for. So going forward, I mean, a lot of times, we can criticize these different things, but I think going forward, I do believe that they are going to definitely take all of this criticism to heart and come up with a festival. Because again, I don't think that there's anything wrong with adding some diaspora artists and things like that. There's nothing wrong with that, because there's a lot of Black Americans who rock with a lot of artists that are in the diaspora. However, if they feel like if they feel like the festival is no longer focusing them, you will find that your attendance is going to go down low, and they're going to find something else to do. And I think that the rich auntie aesthetic that keeps these festivals in line, you don't want to lose that. And again, the one thing America understands and knows, that Black American spending power is in the trillions of dollars. And everybody wants those dollars. So if you want those dollars, and here's the thing that I have said before, people are not going to kiss your behind and pay you their money too. So Essence, get it together. All right, people, we do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video if you care. Y'all, please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos. And as always, people,